glad you've chosen to rent our R-Pod. I'm going to go over a few safety tips and just general understanding of the trailer and how it works, so you know what to expect when you come here, and it'll save us time when you come in explaining how all the different systems work. Let's get started. When you come to pick up your travel trailer, you're going to need a few things. First, you're going to need a 2-inch ball connected to your vehicle, the bottom of which should be 18 inches off the ground. You're also going to need a 7-pin connector and a brake controller. The trailer is supplied with an electronic brakes. One of these pins controls those brakes. You'll have a controller underneath your dashboard, or it's an aftermarket item, except for on newer trucks, some of them will have them built in, where you can control those electronic brakes from up there. Those are required to pull this trailer. It makes pulling much safer. If things are wet or if you're on curvy roads and you have to make an emergency brake, you want to have those electronic brakes working to your advantage. So you need to have a 7-pin connector to pull this trailer. When you arrive at the destination, the first thing you want to do is level your camper. You'll do this by using the supplied leveling ramps, which we have. This is best done with the help of an assistant. They can look right here at the level bubbles, and they'll tell you if you're leveled left to right. Once you've achieved left to right leveling, use the wheel chocks, chalk all the wheels, come to the head jack, lower the jack, and use the supplied level on the side to determine front and back level. Use this to determine left to right level. Put this underneath your tire and back the vehicle up onto it as high as you need until you achieve level on the front. Then use these with the curved section at the tire underneath the front and the back of both tires in order to make sure the camper stays secure and isn't going to roll away on you. Now you're safe to disconnect from the car. Once you've disconnected from the vehicle, use your front jack to achieve front to back level using the leveling bubbles supplied right here on the side of the R-Pod. Once you've achieved perfect front to back, left to right, right where you want it, right here in the side compartment, you'll find this tool. That's for lowering your stabilizer jacks. There's one of these jacks on all 4 corners. Their purpose is to stabilize the vehicle at its destination. Their purpose is not to raise the vehicle or jack the vehicle up. So only use them to stabilize. Lower them till they hit the ground, leave them right there. If you're at a campground and you have the option of plugging into what we call shore power, or power from outside the trailer, you have 2 options. One is 30 amp, that's the best. 99% of campgrounds will offer you 30 amp power. If you have that, your air conditioner can work, everything in the trailer will run just fine. They'll usually give you a small stalk in the ground with a power connector on it. You want to use this. This is a circuit analyzer that we provide that plugs into the stalk, and it essentially cleans up the power. Some campgrounds have really good power, some don't have such good power, and you'll get spikes in the power, which can throw up breakers and do some electrical damage inside the trailer. So use this provided if you are using 30 amp shore power. If you're plugging into your garage, or just use an extension cord to go into home power, which would be 20 amp power, use this. It connects right here, goes in, twists, locks in place, and just use a standard extension cord to plug in. Provided with this also, we have a 25-foot 30 amp cord that'll go from the backside of this circuit analyzer to the trailer. Also provided on the backside is an outside shower. Inside here is a shower head and hot and cold shutoffs. if you want to use those to not, if you're all covered in mud and you don't want to get a bunch of mud inside the R pod. That'd be great, thanks. Also on the back side is the sewer line extension. If you need to empty the black or the gray water tanks, and they're clearly labeled, one right here says black, behind the tire is the gray. Do the black first, take off the cap, connect the hose, open the valve, empty the black water first, the gray water second, so that the gray water will flush the hose of all of the black water bits and bobs. On this side of the trailer, these are your freshwater connections. The top one is if you want to fill the freshwater tank. It's just an open connection. You put a hose in here and fill up with fresh water. The bottom connector is if you want city water. And what that means is if you were camping next door to a house or camping at a campground, that gives you a faucet you can connect to. Use our supplied 50-foot hose, hook it up to the spigot, hook it right in here, and it will provide the water pressure you need for the camper. On the front here is the LP or liquid petroleum tank, a nice cover on it. This can control obviously a lot of the systems, the heater systems, the hot water, the refrigerator, the heater, all that can run off of liquid petroleum. If you choose to use this to keep the refrigerator running while you're traveling, that's fine. When you go to refill at a gas station, make sure you come back here and shut this off before you pull up to the pumps. Once everything is leveled, the first thing you want to do when you come inside is expand the slide out so you have room to work inside. That button is right here on the wall just inside the door. It's very clear. It says slide out room, in and out. You just push and hold the out button. Once you start pushing it, keep pushing it. Hold it till it's all the way out. Don't stop halfway or play with it a little bit in and out. It'll get the gears a little wonky. You want to go all the way out until it stops, and then you can release it. Let's do that now. Before you do this, make sure there's nothing on the outside of the camper that it's going to run into. You don't want there to be any obstructions, a tree, the power pole, another camper, another person out there as it pushes out. So make sure it's all clear before you hit the out button. This is your control panel for the systems on the R pod. There's 4 buttons here, clearly labeled with some indicator lights to tell you how each of these systems are doing. The first is battery. If you push the button, it'll tell you full, 2/3, 1/3, or empty. The next says fresh. That is the water, the clean water you're carrying with you. Black is sewer tank. That is stuff only that's coming out of the toilet. And gray is your gray water, which is the wastewater going through the sinks and the shower. It's not considered sewage. That's gray water. So you have 2 holding tanks underneath the R pod, a gray tank and a black tank. Right here we have the water pump. You turn that on, and that you'll hear a small water pump that's battery powered. That will give pressure to the water system. We recommend not leaving that on while you're traveling, but once you're at your destination, you go ahead and turn that on, leave it on. This is your hot water heater. You want to make sure your propane is turned on before you turn this on. It's a 6-gallon tank, takes about 15 minutes to warm up. So about 15 minutes before you need to do hot water for dishes or take a shower, we recommend you turn it on then, do your dishes, do your shower, and then shut it back off. That way you're not draining the resources of your trailer. The toilet, the instructions for using it are on the bottom of the lid. It's fairly self-explanatory. There's one lever, you pull it halfway, it starts the water filling in the bowl, so you have some water in the bowl. And then you continue pulling it the rest of the way, it opens the bottom and drops all of the water and sewage into the tank. Use enough water when you use this, because if you don't, you get too much solids in the tank, and it'll give a false reading on your indicator as to how full your tank is. So use plenty of water there so the sewage tank can dissolve well. Also, only use the toilet paper that we provide. It's specifically made for trailer toilets, and it dissolves quicker and easier. It doesn't block out the hoses as you empty the tanks. The shower head has an on-off switch, so you turn it on, get yourself wet, turn it off, get yourself soaped and lathered, turn it back on to rinse yourself off, and then turn it back off again. That way you get the best use of those 6 gallons of hot water that you just spent 15 minutes heating up. In the bathroom, you'll find the ceiling fan. There's a knob that controls opens and closes the lid on it. You want to make sure it's closed while you're traveling, but when you stop, open it up. There's a fan in there that runs off the battery with 3 speeds. It does a great job of removing the moisture from inside the cabin. It's a small cabin. You get 3 or 4 or 5 people in here talking, eating dinner, cooking. A lot of moisture will build up. You'll get condensation on the windows. This, even in the winter time, you want this just a little bit cracked. You can remove moisture from inside the vehicle and you don't end up with condensation on your windows. The air conditioner on the ceiling, which is actually controlled from the thermostat here on the wall, will only run if you're connected to 30 amp shore power. You cannot run it off of 120 AC, you cannot run it off of the batteries. Those don't have enough power to power the compressor in this. The thermostat on the wall here will cycle between fan, cool, and furnace or heat. Cool obviously will give you the air conditioner if you're connected to 30 amp power. Fan will just run this fan on the ceiling. And furnace will turn on the LP furnace, which is located underneath the bed in the front. If you need heat and you switch this to furnace, the electric motor, which runs off the battery, will come on. It's fairly loud. It runs for about 15-20 seconds. Then the LP will click on. The burners fire up, and it starts using the warmth of that air to warm the cabin. Doesn't take very long. It'll warm up the space. The temperature will come up, and the thermostat will shut it down. The LP will shut off. The fan will run for a little bit, and then eventually shut off. The refrigerator has 3 separate potential power sources. It can run off battery, it can run off AC or shore power, it can also run off LP. You switch between those 3 power sources very clearly and easily right here on the control board. This is your on-off button. That one tells you you're plugged into shore power. That's a flame, so it's your LP gas, and that is your battery. We recommend shore power if you have the option, LP if you don't have shore power, and battery as a last resort. Battery uses a lot of energy and will drain the batteries very quickly. Unless you're traveling, at which point, and that 7-pin connector will have a hot lead which goes up to the battery in your car, and then the alternator in your car will provide power to keep this running. That's an option. And remember, when you pull into a gas station, if you're using LP gas, you need to come in here and shut this off and shut off your gas before you pull up to the pump to pump gas into your truck. When you're getting ready to depart your campsite and hit the road again, make sure you collapse your table, use the supplied straps and buckle, strap it down firmly in place, bring the cushions into there, and then you're ready to close up the slide out. When it's time to depart, after you've closed in your slide out, you've gotten everything secured and ready to travel inside, everything's locked down and ready to go. Before you connect to your truck, you need to raise up all of your stabilizer jacks. Bring them all the way up as high as they'll go until they're raised all the way up inside the frame of the vehicle. Then you're ready to move your leveling jack into position to connect to your truck. Once the trailer's on the ball, lock your tongue into position, Use the supplied lock to lock it onto the ball. Take your chains, you want to cross them to make an X. So the chain that's on the right side, hook it on the left. Chain that's on the left, connect it on the right. That way it provides a small bed for the tongue to land on if anything were to happen to your receiver hitch, or if it were to break in any way. Connect your electric. At this point, you want to walk around the entire vehicle, do your last minute check before you hit the road to make sure everything is safe for travel.